Lamar Jackson got paid, Aaron Rodgers got traded for a crazy package, and also the fact that the NFL draft all happened in the same week. We got to get into it. Lamar Jackson signed a 5-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens worth $260 million with $185 million guaranteed. Definitely far off from that Deshaun Watson contract that he was wanting, but I believe he maybe got some sense in his head and realized that he wasn't going to get that. The third most ever guaranteed money behind Kyler Murray at 189.5, and then of course Deshaun Watson with the most desperate contract in NFL history from maybe the most desperate franchise in NFL
Yes.
history, the Cleveland Browns,
Yes.
with the $230 million. So let's start with the obvious question, Mr. Flowers. Did Lamar deserve this big of a bag? Because he's now the highest paid player in NFL history, and he's got the third most guaranteed money ever from a contract.
I mean, he plays exceptionally well, but what is his winning percentage like? What,
Like
70%?
75%.
Something
Yeah.
crazy like that, right?
Yep.
He's worked on his passing a little bit more. Did he deserve that money? I mean, my thing with quarterbacks, and this is what I tell everybody, you can't really get mad at the money because the market is what the market is. I mean,
Right.
you're going to have to pay these guys, whether they suck or they don't suck. We've seen it with Kirk Cousins. You've seen it with my Cowboys with Dak. Like, that's
Same with
just the
Tannehill.
going rate of a quarterback. If they do a little bit of something, they're going to ask for a lot of dough, and you're going to have
Yep.
to just get over that, And so I'm never going to try to take money out of another man's pocket. So I'll say, yes, he's deserved it because he's the face of that franchise, like literally. Like, without him, do we even care about the Baltimore Ravens?
Right.
Probably not, right? So yeah, I think he does deserve it. Now, we'll probably get into this, but will it? Will can he live up to that contract? That's a whole nother question.
Right. Right. Living up to the contract, now having, highest paid player ever, third most guarantees ever. To me, if I'm a fan, you got to at least take me to an AFC title game and at least
Yeah.
a Super
Oh
Bowl
yeah,
and,
he's the
and
man.
probably win one. And maybe that feels a little different because of how the quarterback market is moving. Like Patrick Mahomes is now not, I'm not going to say not anywhere near the tops of the league in highest paid because clearly he is, but his deal was only big for so long.
Right.
Jalen's deal is only big for so long. Lamar's deal is going to be only big for so long. We're kind of going to have to see what the winning quarterbacks or the quarterbacks, as weird as this sounds, we're going to have to see the quarterbacks that are winning the Super Bowls, how much they're actually getting paid before we can say, oh, if you're getting paid $250 million, you have to win a Super Bowl. Of course, when you have a lot of assets moved, like when you did for Matthew Stafford or when you did for Russell Wilson, you want to see production quickly. But in terms of deserving this money for Lamar Jackson, I'm going to say yes, as much as it was his fault for not being signed. He
Right.
makes it through with no agent. He
Yep.
doesn't have to pay that 3% agent fee that I
Right.
figured out. He actually wants to give his mother the 7.8 million, keep it in the family. I absolutely love to hear that.
Yeah.
You already know the people for the Jackson family are more than likely benefiting. Lamar looks absolutely grateful on social media. He said there's a whole lot of flock going on for the next 5 years. He's ready to light up M&T Bank. Like, he is very excited. He's ready to be there.
Yeah.
He's ready to get there. I'm kind of repeating what he said in this video, right? But
Yeah.
you could
Right.
feel the energy from Lamar
He
Jackson
wants to be there.
as he was signed, knowing that he was at the bottom of the first round, understanding that he's had a lot of criticism around him. But it's the amount of money, not the fact that he got the money. Because again, that's the market. He's going to have to get paid, what he's gotten through,
Right.
unanimous MVP. We know all that about Lamar. He changes the game with the snap of a finger, him stepping on the field.
Yeah.
But the amount of money is just, again, something. Now you're talking about mid 50s for him, low to mid 50s for him. And basically what they did is they took the Jalen Hurts deal and essentially just added about $1 million a
Yeah.
year or
Offset.
$1 million a year to all the terms, and then, just tallied it up. But Lamar getting this much money, like I said, he's going to have to be that quarterback. I want to see a couple AFC title games. I want to see a Super Bowl appearance. I want to see a Super Bowl win. And this even isn't even as a fan, but with these big quarterbacks, I mean, you talk about the pressure of the Broncos, the Chargers. Obviously, the Chiefs have won it twice, but they want to win more Super Bowls.
Yeah.
All these high-paid quarterbacks, if they've got one, great. If not, and you're getting this money, there's definitely going to be the pressure now. So Lamar is going to slide into that category, of course. But I feel like the big thing to look at with this entire situation unfolding is, what does this actually mean going forward for players that don't have professional sports agent representation? Because Lamar wrote it out with his mom, got the deal. But I want to ask you first, man.
Yeah.
What do you think this means for players going forward without agents when they have big paydays coming up?
You know what? I think the only position this really affects is the quarterback position. I believe Larry Tunsil now he's not represented by any agent, and he's been paid twice as the highest tackle, like 2 or 3 times. So,
Yep.
and I guess because he's just a tackle, right? Maybe it works for other positions, but the quarterback, I think there's some language, there's some little nuances. You need that agent to kind of come in there and finesse that. So
Right.
moving forward, I mean, obviously Lamar is going to say, "I'm going to keep representing myself or have my mom represent me, whatever the case may be." It worked out; he's getting the bag, right?
Yep.
But for future reference, for any other quarterback coming out that's going to potentially be a superstar stud, kind of like Lamar, get an agent. Do yourself a favor. Make life easy. Don't post on social media. Don't look like a liability. And I think that was part of the reason why the Ravens were a little bit hesitant
Yep.
because he seemed like a liability. He seemed like a loose cannon. And there was no market for him. It was weird how it worked out because at one point we thought the Ravens had the leverage, right? Because
Yep.
there was no market for him. And then there was like, well, wait a minute. They got Tyler Huntley. Is that going to be enough? And so the
Uh-oh.
Ravens, in the end, they just kind of said, you know what, we're going to sign OBJ. I don't know if you heard Antonio Brown is supposed to sign with the Ravens. Did you hear about that?
Yeah. So apparently he posts on Twitter that he's going to come back and be a Raven.
They're
OBJ
going
and
to be
Antonio Brown and Zay Flowers. All right.
if that happens, they need to be on Hard Knocks this year for real
Yeah.
because I want to see AB, Lamar, OBJ, all those guys. But
Right.
you know, yeah, that would be sensational TV for us, but maybe not for so much for them. But in the end, to answer your question, have an agent. It makes life easy for you, man. Like, listen, when I bought a house or buy a house or you want to buy a house, yeah, you can probably do it yourself and save some money, but work with a professional. Work with someone that knows what the heck they're doing.
Yep.
Um, and it's as simple as that. When I go to the butcher, I don't say, "Hey, let me get back there and let me cut myself off a New York strip." I'm gonna ask the butcher dude because he knows what he's doing. So
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I agree with you there. I think the main point that I look at with this, first of all, hats off to Lamar. Again, the
yeah,
story he's been through, declining agent representation, keeping it in the family, paying his mom the money. Like, we have all the respect in the world for
oh,
that.
absolutely,
But like you were talking about, and some of the bigger broadcasters out there have said it. You bring in the agents for those conversations that are going to feel real personal to
yep,
the player, but it's just business.
it's a
And we're
business.
still in the transition of, business doesn't really care about feelings. I believe that is an absolute false thing. You love your employees and you respect your employees and they trust you and they want to continue to work for you.
Right.
So when you are, not going in with an agent and now you're just going to be doing this self-representation, it gets a little interesting, right? Because again, they fill in for those nuances. They're going to make sure that you're not necessarily taking anything personally in these meetings.
Yeah.
But I think it also really rallies in the maturity for when you're bringing these 20, 21-year-old quarterbacks that are making, I mean, Joe Burrow, I think, was 20 years old and had a $32 million fully
Already.
guaranteed
Already.
contract. He goes on the podcast and he says, yeah, I got a cool 28 million wired to me days after I became an NFL player. So it's like when you bring in agents, and maybe I'm getting more over into, the financial representative side, but when you have these young guys stepping up to be leaders of multi-billion-dollar franchises that garner millions of eyes and views and judgments and opinions, and
Yeah.
and it's a major business running at the end of the day. I
Yeah.
feel like that's where the agents come in. They're able to kind of maybe not play that parent, but if there's situations in their career that clearly a seasoned agent like a Drew Rosenhaus or, like an agent that's representing Jalen Hurts and just got him his deal, um,
Clutch
you
sports.
know, there you go. Exactly. You're going to see greater things happen like that. So I think with players going forward and not having that agent, this could be a potential thing of, okay, are these players now, are we going to now see younger players essentially making more crazy decisions because they don't have the guidance of the professional? I love how you alluded to the butcher. I love how you alluded to the real estate agent. It's a very similar thing. Dealing with professionals in this space, signing that once in a lifetime 9-figure, potentially 10-figure deal once those become a thing in the NFL, it's going to be crazy. And
Yeah.
the agents are going to be a lot to do with that. They line up the numbers, they talk to the people that need to be talked to, and they negotiate for you on your behalf. So I think now, again, with Lamar doing this without an agent, you're going to see maybe crazier deals that shouldn't happen.
Right.
Lamar officially, all the other quarterback contracts, okay, we can say what we want, right? Lamar Jackson's by itself changed the way that quarterbacks are going to get paid.
Oh yeah.
Change the way that a lot of players are going to get
Oh yeah.
paid. And I know you said Laramie Tunsil again, major respect to him,
Right.
highest paid tackle now for a couple
Different position
years,
though.
but this is going to be interesting because again, players just not having that guidance, not having that mentorship, maybe getting severely underpaid. I mean, again, it's going to be something to watch as things unfold. But nonetheless, Lamar Jackson, $260 million over 5 years, 185 million guaranteed. We both think he deserved the bag. Kind of answer some questions about what it's going to do for players moving forward without agents. But as always, y'all get in the comments. Let us know whether you're live with us tonight, whether
I
you're
need
on
to borrow some of
YouTube.
that money from him.
Say again.
I need to borrow some of that cash from him. If
I'm
he could
saying,
spot me.
man, let me hold $1 or $1 million or two. You know what I mean? Well, let's just be nice and real generous about it. I'll come out to M&T. I'll be there. Buy me season tickets, man. I'll figure a way to get out there. I'd love to watch you play all 17 of this year, man, or
Who's
at least
next up to get paid? Who's next up right now? Would it be Joe Burrow? Is he the next guy
yeah. So it's going to be. I think Joe's next because we had the whole speculation of what Jalen Hurts' deal was going to be.
on
Some were
Jacksonville?
saying I think 7 years, 345 million. It kind of was on the same range, just less time. There's people have been saying that Joe Burrow is going to sign a 4-year, 210 million, $214 million contract. So we're going to see the numbers slightly go up and up, and it feels a little idiotic to me to know that these guys are just going to kind of run up the checks like this because, oh, the last guy got paid like that, and the last guy got paid like that, and the last guy got paid like that. But I don't think
Mhm.
we can continue to use recency bias in terms of big paydays for superstars and be like, oh, well, I want that because he just got it.
That's what he
Okay, well,
got.
playing like that, did you go to a Super Bowl in his second year as a starter like Joe Burrow did, and off of a first year completely healthy like Joe Burrow did behind the third worst O line in the league,
Yep.
like Joe Burrow did? No. Absolutely not. And I think that's why it worked out well for Joe Burrow because he got drafted at just that right time where he's getting paid after Jalen. He's getting paid after Lamar. He's
Yep.
getting paid after Josh Allen. He's getting paid after Deshaun Watson. So he's getting paid after a lot of big names. But in the first 2, 3 years, he's played better than all of them. I
Oh,
mean, let's just call it
hands
what it is. Looking at what he did with what he had at his disposal and how questionable
Yep.
Cincinnati was when they drafted him 1 overall, how questionable Joe Burrow was when he came into the league. It's going to be interesting, but I do think now Joe Burrow will be the next one to get paid. If not him, it's going to be Herbert, and whoever doesn't go first is definitely going to go second.